You've probably said these phrases 100 times without thinking twice. Because where history, medicine, and superstition collide, language gets weird. But what if I told you some of the most common expressions in everyday language? Started with curses, corpses, plagues, and were straight-up nightmare fuel? Yeah, today we're diving into the unsettling origins hiding in plain sight. Safety coffins that rang for the living. Medieval markets where a pig in a sack wasn't always a pig. And goosebumps so infamous they named a way to quit. Let's get into it. At number 8. Saved by the Bell. You probably hear this and think of school bells or the 90s sitcom. But the original meaning came from something much darker. In the 1700s and 1800s, the fear of being buried alive wasn't just a phobia. It was a practical concern. People with fainting illnesses like cholera or coma-like symptoms were sometimes mistaken for dead and put in the ground too early. To counter it, inventors proposed safety coffins, real systems with a wrist string leading to a bell, plus variants using flags and even air tubes. Multiple patents popped up across Europe and the US, refining the idea. Some added ventilation pipes, others added pull cords that rang above ground alarms. The idea was simple. If the corpse woke up, a tug on the wrist string signaled the living. A subtle twitch, a pull on the cord, and that bell would ring for help. Some designs even raised a little flag beside the grave to catch a watcher's eye. Imagine being the groundskeeper on the night shift, hearing faint bells drift across the graves. At number 7. Graveyard shift. Today it just means working late at night. But the phrase came from the same messy era when people couldn't reliably tell who was alive. Cemeteries hired night watchers, not to maintain order, but to listen for bells from Saved by the Bell coffins. These workers literally patrolled graveyards from midnight to dawn, listening for signs of scratching, thumping, or ringing. And here's the creepy twist. Sometimes bodies would shift or settle underground, creating unsettling noises that made workers think someone was coming back. By the mid-19th century, the phrase shows up in American and British usage for overnight factory shifts. Men and women tending machines under gaslight. It also pops up in telegraph offices, where operators kept vigil through the small hours, waiting for the faint ticking of the wire. Industrialization spread the term far beyond cemeteries, but the lore of night watchmen still haunts the name. The OG version, much worse than stocking shelves at 3 a.m. At number 6. Over my dead body. Today it means absolutely not, but it began during sieges, when villagers formed human blockades and chains in narrow streets to slow in advance and sway public sentiment, turning bodies into living barricades. In some regions this wasn't symbolic. Invaders were forced to step over people lying prone, real or feigned, while defenders risked very real harm to stall the push. That hesitation was the point. Think of a modern, non-violent protest line, linked arms halting movement, then dissolve back to the siege where the stakes were far higher. So when we say it now, it's figurative defiance. Originally, it was a literal dare. My body is the line you must cross. At number 5. Bite the bullet. Before anesthesia, battlefield surgeries were brutal. Alongside leather straps or wooden sticks, surgeons sometimes handed patients a lead ball to bite. Tough, portable, and everywhere on a battlefield. Clenching kept the jaw engaged and muffled screams during procedures like amputations. It wasn't about medicine, just enduring agony without shattering teeth. The phrase shows up in late 19th century military slang and spread through popular literature. Reports note tooth marks on bullets, but the goal wasn't causing infection or lead poisoning, just managing pain under fire. Now we say bite the bullet for taxes or laundry. Way less dramatic, still unpleasant in its own way. At number 4. Kick the bucket. This phrase sounds cartoonish, but one origin is unsettling. In informal hangings, a condemned person stood on an overturned bucket or stand with a rope around their neck. When the support was kicked away, that was the end. In that reading, the phrase is literal. The bucket gets kicked, the drop happens. Grim and very direct. Another theory points to slaughterhouses. Bucket or buck as a beam where animals were hung. When they were hoisted, they would kick beneath the rail. The exact etymology is debated, but both stories lean hard into death imagery. Either way, it's much darker than the cheerful euphemism we use today. At number 3. Let the cat out of the bag. Sounds cute, right? Except it likely started with medieval marketplace scams. Sellers would show a piglet, real value. Then, when you weren't looking, swap in a worthless cat inside the sack. Hence the warning about buying a pig in a poke. Always inspect what's in the bag. You may hear another story. The cat o' nine tails. A whip pulled from a bag on ships. Most scholars favor the market scam origin. If a buyer peeked early, they literally let the cat out, exposing the trick. Today, it just means revealing a secret. At number 2, caught red-handed. This one comes from Scottish law in the 15th to 17th centuries. Red hand, later red-handed, meant being taken with fresh blood on you, often from poaching deer or slaughtering stolen livestock. Not near the scene, not holding a knife. The standard was physical evidence on the person at the moment of capture. Literal blood, fresh enough to mark hands or clothing. If they were clean, many walked free, even if everyone knew they were guilty. But if they were caught red-handed, it was over. And at number 1, cold turkey. When someone quits something abruptly, like smoking, drinking, or a bad habit, we call it going cold turkey. But the reason is unpleasant. People withdrawing from narcotics in the early 1900s often had chills, piloerection, that's goosebumps, and restless agitation. Skin went cold, pale, and bumpy, like refrigerated turkey skin. Early newspapers and medical notes used the comparison, and by the 1910s it meant quitting abruptly, likely blending with older talk turkey or plain turkey, meaning blunt and plain. So yeah, it's not about food, it's withdrawal imagery, and it's stuck in English. And that wraps up 8 phrases you've probably used your whole life. But now you can't unhear their creepy origins. If your brain feels a little cursed, it's not by chance. Want more strange origins and weird history? Like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what next wacky and interesting facts we discover here on Top 8. In the comments, tell us which phrase messed you up the most, and share corrections or sources you love.